There have been some really big updates in the AI world. A Claude Mythos 5 model slug appeared inside Anthropic's API catalog. Not Mythos Preview, not a version of Opus, a completely new model identifier. GPT-5.6 got two brand new checkpoint names, and one of them has already been called nerfed by the people who tested both. We also have Deepseek quietly showing signs of something bigger coming, and a mysterious stealth video model called Purple showed up inside Artificial Arena that nobody can quite place yet. There is so much that concerns us, and we just can't afford to miss any of these updates. Let us get into it. And by the way, I have 20 years of experience working in AI, machine learning, and computational intelligence. So rest assured, everything I tell here is filtered through all my knowledge and learnings all along. Let me start with the Mythos 5 leak, because this is the story that caught everyone off guard. A model slug labeled Claude Mythos 5 appeared in Anthropic's API catalog. It was visible for a short window before it disappeared. Yes, this is important to know. The slug appeared through Anthropic's dev mode. Testing catalog spotted it. The identifier read Claude Mythos 5 and it sat visible in the API catalog briefly before disappearing. That kind of appearance and quick disappearance pattern is something that almost always means one thing in the AI world. The model is real and it is probably not far away. But the more interesting detail is what Mythos 5 actually represents in terms of Anthropic's product lineup. This is not another Opus upgrade. Anthropic appears to be building Mythos as a fourth model class, sitting completely separate from the existing Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus families. A new tier entirely, above Opus. Not a replacement for it, a step above it. The codename Capybara has been floating around leaked Anthropic documents for a while now. The leaked draft described it as something that is larger and more intelligent than the Opus models, with particular strength in cybersecurity, complex reasoning, and multi-step agentic work. Mythos 5 appears to be the actual release identifier for whatever that tier becomes publicly. Now here is the part that will make a lot of people pause. The pricing that has been associated with this model is steep. Glasswing partners currently pay $25 per million input tokens and $125 per million output tokens for Mythos Preview. That is 5 times more expensive than Opus 4.8. Some resellers are showing slightly lower figures of around $16 input and $80 output, but none of these are confirmed public pricing. What Anthropic's own leaked documents do confirm is that the model is, in their words, very expensive for them to serve and very expensive for customers to use. That is a direct quote from their own internal materials, not a rumor. I think most developers should be honest with themselves about whether this model will actually be practical for their workflows. From what I have seen tested in communities, Mythos burns through tokens fast. Simple prompts can hit 200,000 tokens. For front ends and basic logic tasks, that means the cost adds up uncomfortably quickly. Caching helps, but it does not solve the problem entirely. And there is a reasonable chance that the public version launches with more capability restrictions than what the preview demos have been showing. But here is the thing that genuinely surprised me. Despite all of that, what this model can actually do is unlike anything I have seen before. Let's have a look. So let me walk you through what the preview outputs look like, because they are the reason the hype around this model is not going away. Someone built a full Minecraft clone, not a block world with basic movement, an actual Minecraft clone with breaking blocks, different ores, crafting, sandbox mechanics, and proper game logic. The part that stood out most is that Mythos actually implemented working crafting for the first time in any model test I have seen. Crafting logic breaks most models. The state management, the inventory interactions, the input combinations, it usually falls apart somewhere. Mythos handled it. And then it went further and added multiplayer networking on top of that. Think about what that involves. You are not asking it to build a UI. You are asking it to build a networked game with physics, inventory logic, crafting mechanics, and state synchronization across multiple clients. and it did it. The Golden Gate Bridge SVG output is another one worth mentioning. The structure, the scale, the lighting, the way it handled the surrounding environment, the cables and the geometry, no other model comes close to that level of architectural detail in a single shot generation right now. There is also a piano composition output where Mythos generated both the audio and the visual interface simultaneously, creating a full composition from scratch with the music player built around it. Not just the code for the player, the actual musical composition as well. A leaker called Chat, who has had credible early access to the preview, generated a PSP game console in SVG in under 11 minutes. The output replicated the PSP's operating system layout accurately, including the memory stick notification and the power and LAN lighting indicators. A Nintendo Switch followed in around 8 minutes. Both of those are SVG, which means every component is drawn mathematically. The precision required for that kind of output is genuinely different from what we are used to seeing. And then there is the Zcash finding, which is the one that really underlines what Mythos is at its core. While all these coding demos were happening, Mythos was being used in security testing, and it found a critical vulnerability in the Zcash cryptocurrency. A bug that would allow someone to mine unlimited amounts of Zcash tokens. That vulnerability had gone unnoticed for 4 years before being found and patched on June 1st. News of it spread quickly, and Zcash dropped nearly 48% in price. This is the thing I keep coming back to. The same model that builds Minecraft clones and piano composers is also finding 4-year-old zero-day vulnerabilities in live financial infrastructure. Those two capabilities existing in the same model at the same time is what makes this way different than any other AI model. Now, Polymarket currently puts the odds of Mythos 5 releasing by June 15th at around 47%. My honest read is that this month is likely, but nothing is locked in. Anthropic may adjust the version, restrict capabilities further, or delay based on red teaming results that we do not have visibility into. And while we are waiting on Mythos 5, something equally interesting is developing on the OpenAI side. As we are about to enter the most crucial part of the video, just hit that like button and press that lonely subscribe button as well. Now this is really crazy. The GPT 5.6 story has gotten more complicated since last week. Until recently, the checkpoint most people in the community were tracking was something called Dual Alpha. It was being positioned as a strong candidate, and developers watching its outputs were generally impressed. This week, Dual Alpha is reportedly being phased out, and 2 new checkpoints have taken its place: Kepler Alpha and Kindle Alpha. Leo, who is probably the most consistently accurate leaker in the OpenAI space, is saying that OpenAI has settled on Kindle Alpha as their current release candidate. That sounds straightforward until you look at the actual comparison outputs. When developers ran the same prompt on both Kepler Alpha and Kindle Alpha looked noticeably worse. There is a visible regression in output quality compared to Kepler. Some of that variance might just be normal run-to-run differences rather than a genuine capability drop. But the pattern is consistent enough across enough comparisons that people are not dismissing it. So we are in an unusual situation where the checkpoint OpenAI has apparently chosen as their release candidate looks weaker than a checkpoint they decided not to use. That kind of internal decision is worth watching because it usually means OpenAI is optimizing for something other than raw capability, cost, latency, safety alignment, or some combination of those. What I can tell you from the earlier Dual Alpha outputs that circulated is that GPT 5.6 appears to have made real progress on front-end UI generation. That is the area where GPT models have historically been embarrassing. Plasticky interfaces, generic layouts, no design sense. The Dual Alpha outputs showed noticeably cleaner front-end code from short prompts with no special tooling, straight out of the API. Prediction markets are sitting at 80 to 89% odds for a public release before June 30th. The codex log canary pattern, where GPT-5.6 briefly appeared in internal routing logs before disappearing, is exactly what showed up 10 to 14 days before GPT-5.5 launched. That puts the window somewhere between mid-June and early July, assuming OpenAI does not push back. And while all of this is happening with the two biggest model families, there are two other developments this week that we just can't miss. Deepseek is showing signs of something bigger coming our way. The UI changes that appeared this week are more substantial than a typical interface refresh. Multiple users have described it as closer to a full revamp of the chat experience. There are also hints of new functions appearing in the interface that were not there before, and there is speculation about a possible native app or desktop GUI experience in development. To be clear, nothing has been officially confirmed. But Deepseek moving toward a dedicated native app would be a real shift in how people interact with the model. The web interface is already solid, and the model itself is genuinely strong, particularly on coding and long context work. A proper desktop application would make those capabilities more accessible for people who want something tighter than a browser tab. I am keeping an eye on this one. It is early, but the pattern of UI changes followed by new function hints is usually a signal that something is being prepared rather than just maintained. And then there is Purple. Purple is a stealth video model that appeared inside Artificial Arena this week with no announcement. Nobody knows exactly who built it. What people do know is that it handles text-to-video generation in a way that several other current models do not match. The text consistency is particularly strong. It follows through on textual instructions and builds the visual output around them rather than losing track of the prompt halfway through, which is still a common failure mode in most video models. The animal video outputs are the ones generating the most discussion. The motion and the overall visual consistency look a step ahead of what most currently available video models produce. The most interesting detail is about the Synth ID watermark. Synth ID is Google's watermarking system for AI-generated content. The watermark was detected on Purple's outputs, which is a strong signal that this is a Google model. Current speculation, and it is still speculation, is that Purple could be Gemini Omni Pro being tested quietly inside Artificial Arena before any public announcement. If that is accurate, Google may be sitting on a more capable video generation model than Omni Flash and testing it without making any noise about it. That would be consistent with how Google has quietly staged model releases before official announcements in the past. So that is the week. Which one of these updates you think is going to make the biggest impact on our daily workflows? And which is your preference, Claude or ChatGPT? Share your opinion in the comments. There is so much happening around in the AI arena, and I am keeping a close look on it all. Subscribe to my channel and never miss any of the crucial updates which could really matter to you. And there was some other confidential data about Mythos accidentally leaked by Microsoft in one of their major events. Watch the video showing up on the screen to find that out. See you there.